If your dog follows you to the bathroom, they are trying to tell you something. And it is not what most people assume. Not clinginess, not neediness, and certainly not a training problem waiting to be solved. What your dog is doing in that moment is something far more specific, far more intentional, and far more revealing about the bond between you than most owners ever stop to consider. You have probably laughed about it, mentioned it to a friend, maybe even found it slightly annoying at 2 a.m. when you just needed 60 seconds alone. But underneath the humor of it, underneath the scratching at the door, and the nose pressed into the gap at the bottom, your dog is sending you a message that has been waiting for translation. And once you hear it, you will never walk away from that closed door the same way again. To understand what your dog is actually communicating, you first have to understand something about how your dog experiences time, and specifically, how your dog experiences your absence. You feel 60 seconds passing. Your dog does not experience it that way. Dogs do not have the same relationship with duration that humans do. What they have instead is an acute, moment-to-moment awareness of presence and absence. When you are there, you are the anchor of their entire environment. Every sound, every smell, every shift in the room. Your dog processes all of it, relative to where you are. You are the fixed point their nervous system orients around, and when you disappear, even behind a door, even for a minute, that fixed point vanishes. The environment does not change, but the thing that made it safe does. Research from the University of Vienna confirmed that dogs show measurably different physiological responses depending on how long their owner has been absent. But here is the finding that changes everything. The most significant stress response does not scale with time. The initial moment of disappearance, the second the door closes, registers as one of the highest stress events in a dog's entire day, regardless of how long you are actually gone. Your dog is not being dramatic. Their nervous system is responding to a genuinely significant event. And what they do next, the waiting, the scratching, the nose pressed against the gap, is not anxiety. It is communication. Your dog is not falling apart. Your dog is doing the only thing available to them, staying as close to your last known location as possible, and waiting for the world to make sense again. What your dog is communicating belongs to something researchers call proximity-seeking behavior. In dogs, proximity-seeking is not a quirk or a personality trait. It is one of the clearest expressions of attachment that exists in the entire spectrum of canine behavior. Your dog has formed what behavioral scientists classify as a secure attachment bond with you. The same category of bond studied in human infants and their primary caregivers. In that bond, the attached individual uses the attachment figure as a safe base from which to engage with the world. When the safe base disappears, even temporarily, the system activates. It sends the animal toward the last known location of safety. It produces the behaviors you recognize: the following, the waiting, the refusal to settle until the bond is visually confirmed again. A landmark study published in PLOS ONE found that dogs display the full behavioral signature of secure attachment, including proximity maintenance, separation distress, and reunion relief, at rates comparable to human infants with their primary caregivers. Your dog follows you to the bathroom for the same neurological reason a toddler stands at a closed door and cries. Not because something is wrong, because something is deeply, profoundly right. And here is where it becomes something most owners never consider. The fact that your dog follows you, specifically you, is not incidental. It is the entire point. Dogs in multi-person households do not follow every person equally. They select. They identify one individual whose presence regulates their nervous system most effectively, and that is the person they track. That is the person whose footsteps they follow down the hall at midnight. If your dog follows you, your dog has made a specific, considered choice, built from thousands of small moments of attunement and consistency that your dog registered even when you didn't know you were providing them, every time you came back. Every time your voice carried warmth. Every time you were steady when the world around them wasn't. Your dog catalogued all of it. And the conclusion they reached lies in every single step they take toward that closed door. If your dog does this, if they follow you, wait for you, press their nose against the door until you return, Subscribe to Baroon. We decode these hidden messages every single week, so you never miss what your dog is actually trying to tell you. Most owners, when they think about this behavior, frame it as their dog needing them. And that framing is not wrong, but it is incomplete. Because the deeper truth is that your dog is not only expressing need, your dog is expressing knowledge. Your dog knows something about you that you may not have fully accepted about yourself yet. They know that you are safe. Not because you are perfect, not because every moment between you has been seamless or effortless, but because across every day you have shared, the overall signal your dog received was consistent enough, warm enough, present enough, that their biology arrived at a conclusion. And biology does not reach that conclusion easily. It does not extend that kind of trust to just anyone, and it does not extend it quickly. A dog's nervous system is ancient and precise. It was built over thousands of years to detect threat, inconsistency, and danger with extraordinary accuracy. It is a system that evolved in environments where a wrong read meant death, where trusting the wrong creature meant not surviving the night. That system did not soften when dogs moved into human homes. It simply redirected its attention from the wilderness to you. When that same system, that finely tuned, never-resting threat detector, decides that a specific human being is safe enough to follow, safe enough to wait for, safe enough to press a nose against a door for, that is not a small thing. That is the result of 1,000 quiet tests your dog ran without you ever knowing they were running them. And they passed you on every single one. Every morning you showed up. Every evening you came home. Every moment your presence meant their nervous system could lower its guard. Even slightly, even briefly, your dog recorded it, stored it, built something from it. Something that does not look like data from the outside. Something that looks from the outside exactly like a dog sitting patiently outside a bathroom door. There is one more layer to this that almost no owner ever reaches. When your dog follows you and waits, when they hold that position outside the door, patient and quiet and utterly certain, they are also doing something for you. Research in human-animal interaction has consistently shown that owners who correctly understand their dog's attachment behaviors report significantly lower cortisol, reduced loneliness, and a stronger sense of being known. The translation matters. Not just for your dog, for you. Because what changes when you understand this is not just how you see the behavior. It is how you walk through your own home. You stop stepping over your dog as an inconvenience. You start recognizing what is actually happening every time they get up and follow you. You start receiving what your dog has been offering you deliberately and consistently since the very first day. Your dog sitting outside that door is not a quirk. It is not a behavioral pattern to manage or train away. It is a living, breathing expression of the most complete trust one creature can offer another. And it is being offered to you, specifically, deliberately, every single day, whether or not you knew what it meant. Until now. Your dog follows you to the bathroom because their nervous system has run every test available to it and returned the same answer every time without exception. You are safe. You are the anchor. You are the place the world makes sense from. That is what the scratching means. That is what the waiting means. Patient, quiet, utterly certain. Your dog is not telling you they need you. Your dog is telling you something far more specific than that. They are telling you that out of everything available to them, out of every person, every corner, every place in the world they have access to, they already know where they belong.